The whole time I had been interviewing doctors trying to find one that made sense to me, because while I believed everything I was being told, the information was always somewhat contradictory, and I wanted to find somebody that I felt comfortable dying with. I wanted somebody who knew my name when I walked in the door without looking at my chart, and would listen to me as well as talk to me. And this particular doctor suggested that I retest. She said I did not fit the profile of an AIDS patient. So I put it off for about 3 months. I didn't know what to do. I'd become very involved with people who tested positive and with people who had AIDS. It would have felt terrible to be given a negative test result after this involvement and walk away from those people. However, in my heart, I also hoped that it might all be like a bad dream or a mistake. And after much consternation, I took another test and the results came back indeterminate. That meant I wasn't quite positive and I wasn't quite negative, which wasn't quite what I was expecting. So I took another test, that one came back positive. I took another test, that one came back negative. I took another test, that one came back positive. And that's when I started to actively question what I had been taught to teach other people about HIV and AIDS. That investigation of these issues and this information led me to write a book called What If Everything You Thought You Knew About AIDS Was Wrong? This was my way of sharing with people vital, valuable information that I found that contradicted most popular ideas about HIV and AIDS and provided a very solid foundation, not just for hope, but the real possibility that people who test positive can lead perfectly normal lives.
This takes a lot of focused attention, and I have ADD. And my husband, who is a doctor, is also very cavalier. So one of the things that's been very helpful is that Laura has been very patient with us. Because I took Danny to the Science Museum one time with Jesse. It was about 2 or 3 weeks after he got the disease. And the engine blew up, and we had to get towed by AA and is it AAA? I had to get towed by AAA, and Danny started crying, and I said, "Oh, don't be so disappointed, hon. We'll get to the Science Museum another time." And Jesse said, "I think he's low, Nana," which would not have occurred to me.
Okay.
And then I realized I didn't know how to use the glucagon shot that Laura had shown me, but feeling so nervous, I pulled it out and I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, you have to put it together, and I couldn't remember a thing. And then Jesse said to me, "You don't want to give him a shot, Nana, because then we'll have to go to the hospital. Just give him something sweet." And then I went, oh my God, I forgot that this is a last resort, not the first resort. And if it hadn't been for Jesse, we would have had a tragedy on our hands. So I delivered the kids back, and I went to bed and I pulled the covers over my head, and I thought, I am the worst grandmother that ever was. I am not going to be able to cope with this. And when I talked with Laura, she said, "Oh, Mom, it wasn't your fault. It was my fault." I said, "Really? How is it your fault?" She said, "I should have reviewed the glucagon with you. I should have gone over a few things." And even though it wasn't really true that it was her fault, it made me feel so much better that I thought, you know what, I can do this. I can learn this. So then we took Danny for a weekend, and we returned him. He was like at 340 or 400 or something. So we sat down with Laura, and we said, why did this happen? Well, we took him to church, and at coffee hour, I was busy having coffee. Who remembers you have to check that he's not eating the sweets? And that night, we settled down, we watched television with the kids, and somehow we forgot we were supposed to do exercise. I mean, when you get to be my age, you have certain habitual ways of doing things, and diabetes just takes and throws